Hello, Trailblazers. Welcome to the Trailblazers Palette Podcast. I'm your host, Sancha Marshall, and today is an absolute treat because we have a very special guest, my brilliant husband, Josh Marshall. We're diving into the exciting world of software engineering, e-commerce, and trailblazing entrepreneurship with Josh. He's not only a tech whiz, but also a driving force behind his own web development business. In this episode, we'll unravel Josh's inspiring story, from conquering challenges to celebrating triumphs while creating cutting-edge solutions for e-commerce and beyond. And guess what? We're adding an extra twist as we share our family's adventure in unschooling with our 3 kids, embracing creativity and learning like never before. So get ready to be inspired and engaged as we embark on this captivating conversation with Josh, filled with valuable insights and a sprinkle of our personal family tales. Let's give a warm welcome to Josh and dive right in. So Josh, thank you for starting out with our first podcast. And if you would just like to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do, how you started out on your journey to software engineering and what that is for people who don't know.
Sure. Well, software engineering is pretty much getting probably a computer or electronic hardware or whatever to do something that that you want it to do. I was probably always interested in making things do things that maybe they weren't supposed to do or something like that. So even as a kid, the computers that they had at school, they just played hangman and other things like that. And I wanted them to say things like I'd get the program to write something on the screen to sort of say, hello, how are you, or something like that. And there was just this satisfaction of being able to say, oh, I got the computer to do something that nobody else has really done before, or something along those lines. So, from a very young age, in the sort of fledgling part of like computer history, I had an interest there. So, it's been around for a long time doing that sort of stuff. So software engineering in from my perspective is so my customers come to me and they say, I've got a website, or sorry, they want to get their website to do something. They want to have something that will help their business to be able to run smoother or more streamlined, or to do something that is taking them a lot of time. So it's a challenge for me to be able to get something custom for them, something they can't buy off the shelf. So it's always comes back to being able to do something that there isn't something that's available for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the sort of specialised systems, I think, is what you do the most of. And so leading on from that, like you worked for quite a few other companies before starting out on your own business. So if you can maybe just sort of share that journey with us, working for other companies for so long, and then what put you into your own business, why you did that, and the journey around growing your own business.
Sure. Well, probably if we even get back a little bit further into when I was in school, having an engineering background, my father is with motor engineering and stuff like that. He sort of said to me, look, Josh, I understand motors and sort of mechanical parts and things like this, and the future is electronics. We can see that. So he sort of steered me in the direction of electronics. So when I finished school, I went and got a job working for a company doing printed circuit board design and things like that. It was on the computer, so it was right up my alley. I loved it. So working in electronics, again, was a little bit like what I'm doing now with the software. It was more hardware at the time. So getting something to make something happen that didn't exist before, being sort of it's like a creating sort of a thing. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Just talking about, building your own business and your journey, like through web development through the years and how you came to starting out on your own and what inspired you to do that.
Sure. Well, I worked for probably 15 years or so, probably longer than that, like 20 years for employers doing various different things. Along the way, I'm a little bit opinionated on how things should be run, and I know that I had offered unsolicited advice to some of the employers, and they didn't really like hearing my suggestions, even though in retrospect, a few times I was correct, which was nice to see. So, but starting my own business was very much, I can make my own mistakes now. This is great. So, and there's no one to blame but me if everything goes wrong. So, but there was something really freeing about saying, okay, well, I'm not having to be on, like, show up at work at 9 and leave at 5 or whatever the hours are that you're currently running. As I've had someone say to me, hey, Josh, you're working 60 hours a week so you don't have to work 40. And it was very true, but when it's your own doings, then it's a lot more rewarding. And also doing something that you enjoy, something that is from the heart. It doesn't feel like work. You don't just go, oh, it's Monday morning. It's more like, okay, here we go again. What are we going to do today? This is going to be fun, sort of thing.
So, and I know we've talked about this before, and it's something that comes up quite often. Like, what are your thoughts around when people say, if you do something you love, you won't work a day in your life, that kind of thing, turning your passion into your job. And also the thoughts around, if you turn your passion into a job, do you end up hating it? Because I know in the art industry, I've heard a number of people say, they end up going to course creation or something like that because they reckon that trying to sell their art, it's killed their love of what they do.
Yep. Well, what they love doing is the art. It's not the marketing. That's the marketing that's killed their love of it. So if they had just focused on the art and making the art and said, I'm going to get someone else to market it for me, or find an online platform or something like that sort of does the hard yards for them. I think that's where galleries come in for those sort of artists who don't want to market their things. Then they can just focus on what they love doing. And yes, the galleries take a cut, but they're doing the work for you, sort of thing, So I admit running my own business is tough when it comes around to the time of the month when I have to do the accounting and have to submit tax reports and send invoices. I hate sending invoices. I'd rather do the work than get people to pay me for it. So, because I'd rather be just doing the work. I guess I think the old saying about the people on their deathbed saying, nobody says, I wish I was at work more. Well, if you're doing what you loved every day of your life, well, it's not work, because you'd want to be there, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. And I think that knowing you, you're probably someone who has a very incredible work ethic that's quite unique and quite different to most people. So you are, you're a hard worker and you really do enjoy what you do. And I know your customers, you put 100% into the work you do for them. And I guess, how do you find that? Like, do you see that in yourself compared to others? Or I know that, in your years working for a company, that was often quite difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I've had arguments with fellow employees back when I was in the workforce, where they would spend as much time at Smoko and they would spend as much time sort of slacking off because they were sort of working by the clock rather than by the job. And And I know that quite a few of them would want to. They actually said, we want to learn on the job. There's all this new technology out there. You should be paying us to learn the new technology while we're working. And I said to them, well, you're only here 8 hours of the day. There's another 16 to go. You could be learning at home, and then you bring it in and say, oh, I've been playing with this at night. It's fantastic. You should be doing it. Yeah. And it's such an easier sell when you say, hey, yeah, this is, then we're all excited. Everyone else goes, oh, he's excited about something. What's going on here? This must be actually pretty good. Rather than you going, oh, there's this new technology. You should pay me to learn it. Well, a boss is there to get money out of you, not to train you, I guess. So, and I know there's a lot of incentives these days in my industry where they give you a certain amount of time for training. But I don't know, in my situation, I've always been one who is always looking at the new things, new technologies and that sort of stuff, and learning myself just because it's fun, really. But I'm a bit of a geeky kind of fun. You shouldn't really be booking it off to customers. Customers don't want to pay you to learn. It's only the employers that have those incentives. I don't ever have a customer ring me up and say, hey, Josh, there's this new technology out. Would you like to spend a couple of months learning it, and I'll pay you, and there'll be nothing at the end. You know, they want a product at the end. They want something that works for them and gets their business working. Yeah, exactly.
And so, talk to people listening a little bit about your journey into creating your own content management system and how that came about.
Sure. Anyone who's worked with websites in the past have probably heard of platforms like WordPress or Squarespace or those sort of ones. And they're very popular because they're easy to set up. To be honest, they're easy to set up for marketers who are making a marketing site for a run-of-the-mill cookie-cutter style website that it might sell a product or two, but anything custom is just not an option. It's okay if you want to sell, if you're a plumber or a builder or you've got a product that you're selling offline. But apart from that, they're quite rigid and inflexible. So when I started my own company, I wanted to make sure that I had a platform that I could make custom sites on, because I know that if a customer comes to me and says, hey Josh, I need to have a booking system where people can buy tickets to an event or something like that, they could go to a ticketing online platform and pay the $2 whatever per ticket to get it and get a whole heap of features and be fabulous, but then they go, but we want this as well. And it's always something weird. Every customer who's wanting something custom, because that's what customer means. Is it custom? Everything's custom for customers. So I looked at the platforms that are available, and none of them really fit all of the criteria that I had. One of them being affordable for the end customer, one of them being easy to work with, and one of them being like flexible and being able to be customized. And I came up with nothing. And so I said, well, this is a pretty tough road, but let's do it. And so I started out doing lots and lots of research and ended up building my own platform from, we call it from scratch, but in the development world, there's always libraries and building blocks that you can use. So you can say, okay, well, I'm going to use this for the HTML generation. I'm going to use this for database storage. I'm going to use this for, I could use big words or whatever, but pretty much it's a little bit like a Lego house that you're building, but because there are lots of little blocks rather than here's a castle, and here's a here's a predefined car, Lego car. You sort of
that you plug in.
Yeah, that's it. It's EV. It's got off the solar off the top of the castle. Sorry, that's my silly humour. So yeah, the content management system that I built was pretty much from scratch, and I made it so that with future Josh in mind, I thought, okay, well, it's 2015. What's Josh in 2020 going to want to be able to whip up a website system for someone? So I put lots of automations in and things like that so that I could just quickly say, okay, well, they want to be able to have early bird ticket pricing. So I just, boom, add a couple of fields to the database, press a button, and then suddenly they can add early bird pricing. I still have to hook up the logic and say, well, this pricing bit that's over here that they've just typed in actually does this, but at least it was a lot easier than a lot of the other platforms. So there was probably around about 10 to 20% of the work was them just putting the information in, whereas now I'm down to like less than 1% of the time is doing that. So yeah.
So with creating your own CMS, and I know because I've seen that journey of the times where you had put the research in and the frustration you'd had with things not working and then, getting them to work. I guess, how do you find it, or how, like, a lot of your job being problem solving, how do you, or what have you found the most challenging things to be in running your own business, and how you've overcome those things?
I think only having 24 hours in the day is a real challenge. I think falling asleep in front on the laptop at 1:30 in the morning is pretty tough. Because when you're doing some of the development, you can't really bill it onto customers because it's expanding a system that you're going to be using. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes that are unpaid. Coming up with a couple of rules, like don't make big changes on a Friday afternoon before you want to actually have a nice day off. But as you know, Sanch, the profile of the customers that I have, there is no day off ever, because I've got some customers that are business hours and some customers that are weekends. So I get calls anytime. So not doing big changes late at night for a customer when they're going to ring me at 6 a.m. with problems, that's a really that's a really good overcome.
Yeah.
So but I think also being creative, you don't have to run inside the box. You don't have to go, okay, well, what's available to me to be able to solve this problem, or to have a service that's of good for the customers. Because I do web hosting for the customers, for the websites as well, rather than just having an off-the-shelf hosting service. I've actually designed one that is of higher security and things like that. It's actually was a requirement for one of my customers to require that. So there's a lot of time spent put into that as well. But just thinking, okay, well, I could just buy a cPanel or a direct admin or something like that off the shelf, or farm it off to a third party. But there's somewhat of a accomplishment sort of feeling, and some sort of I don't know if you want to call it pride or whatever, to be able to say, hey, I made that and I created it and things like that. Again, same like the Lego, you build up your web hosting system with this web server and this database server and this platform and all that sort of stuff. So being able to think, I don't need to use that specific thing. I can build something that's going to do the job quite nicely, maybe a little bit more niche, and you get actually a better outcome than if you just go on the run-of-the-mill route. So, yeah, I've had quite a few people sort of say, there's no creativity in technology. But it's there. It's amazing how much creativity there is in technology. Anything that you can invent is creative, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Because I know one of your sayings is always like to be creating, not consuming. And I know that you often remind me of that as well. And so, talking about that, like innovation and future vision, I guess, like, where do you see yourself now and moving into the future, I guess, with web development and with what you're working on, what new things you're working on at the moment? And
I think my area, like website programming, technology, all that sort of stuff, it's moving faster than any other industry worldwide. And it's nearly not possible to keep up with all of the different ecosystems and the new things that are out there. So I've had to just choose and say, I can only keep up with this little part of it. Yeah, there's so many different things there. And even with like the new things like AI and stuff like that coming in, there's still a level of humanness that we need to have and learning. So, like, for example, if I don't keep reading and keep learning and keep experimenting with new technologies, then I'm going to be left behind. And I think my industry for the last 40 years, which predates me working in it, has grown so fast. Like, you use more power in your wristwatch than like the computers the banks used in the 80s, So it's absolutely insane. But like working with technology, not working against it is a big thing. I can see that coming up in the next few years that a lot of people will be using technology to make their lives easier or more streamlined or whatever. Work in workplaces as well.
And talking about that, the technology side of things. I wanted to bring up like just how, our transition into unschooling, I guess, which is, that explorative learning. And for the listeners who don't know, you have homeschooling, which is schooling at home. And our family has moved into unschooling. Maybe, Josh, if you can talk a little about that. And I kind of wanted to bring in, our eldest son, Xander, and his learning. And, you were saying like with your industry and it moving so fast and how there's so much to learn, and possibly even your own journey of, looking to university or to institutions for that learning and how that hasn't always worked out, I guess, for us in our situation.
Yeah, that's true. Well, as an example, my last probably 10 websites that I've built on a platform that has only been around for 12 months. There was no courses available. There's no, like, nothing at university. That's definitely not the case. It takes them years to be able to make the curriculum for a course, and then to get approved and all that sort of stuff. So when I was learning how to make these websites using this new technology, which is absolutely fabulous, I might add, I had to do it through user forums and online documentation and reading source code of other people's. There were no courses, so there's when you're sort of on that sort of edge, you can't really rely on anyone else. You sort of got to learn through experimentation and things like that. And I've always been along that track. I mean, yes, I did go to school. Yes, I did go to university for a while. But the majority of my learning was not at those institutions. It was in my own time. It was on the job. It was through experiencing rather than through bookwork. And the times when I did actually do a software engineering course, I found that they focus more on this is how to get something right rather than this is how not to do something wrong. And when kids are learning to walk, the parents don't go, well, you're a bit of a dumbass. You got to stand up and just move your feet this way. Yeah, the kids have to learn they learn by copying, of course, but we're not falling down. They're the ones falling down. So they're looking at us and they're going, okay, I'm doing something wrong because we're both walking, but I'm falling down. You're not falling down. So they learn by mistakes, and we should learn by mistakes as well through our life. But it's almost like people are scared of making mistakes. When I'm coding, I actually use a system called unit testing, and that says this is what we want to achieve, and then you run the code through it, and it says fail, fail. And I've had times when I've gone, this is like the 100th time I'm like Thomas Edison with the light bulb. I'm just still failing, but I'm learning. Every time I fail, I go, aha, that's not how to do it. So in the same way, that's how I see unschool, which is pretty much natural learning or exploratory learning or however you want to say it. You're still copying people who know more than you, who have better skills than you, things like that. But they're not ramming it down your throat. When we were teaching our kids to walk, we didn't chastise them and say, you hurry up, you got to learn to walk, hurry up, whatever. They do it themselves. They want to do it. There's this innate desire in humans to be able to do better than where they are at the moment. So, and I think that, like you mentioned with Xander, with the sort of stuff that he's been doing. Now, if those who don't know, he's a deep diver. He was into plants. He was into gems. He was into making silver things. He loves 3D printers. I think before he bought his 3D printer, he actually had a glue gun that he was making little models of things
little
out of.
people, when he was 10 or something. I think before 3D printers were even more available than what they are now.
Well, affordable for sure, yeah. So, but it was with him, it's a means to an end. I sort of taught him how to do some things within the business, and because he was interested in computers as well, and he did a couple of website designs for me. And customers paid for him to be able to do that. He took that money and went and bought himself a 3D printer. How old was he? 13, I think.
Yeah, around that. Yep.
Yeah, 13. Now, that's all well and good if you're just going to download things off the internet to print out little figurines of Yoda or something like that. But he actually said, I want to actually make things now. And without me even showing him anything, he went and found some software that you can draw the 3D items on. And he taught himself how to use it. He read user forums and he read the manuals and he did lots of tinkering and trial and error, and he made some pretty amazing little things. So, again, I guess, like I said, with the kids that are watching the parents, well, he watched me, how I learnt, which was pretty much just trial and error, and having a focus on what you want to achieve, and sort of saying, I want to get here, I can't get there, where am I, where do I need to build a bridge, sort of thing, rather than just sit on the riverbank and cry.
So looking at, I guess that mode of learning, and I know watching you over the years I think you've had your business, coming up 8 years now?
Yep.
And that transition that you had from, working for someone else to working for yourself to seeing where you are now, and, also the journey that we've had with moving into homeschooling, and that it's all sort of felt like a very natural transition, and at times I'd say it hasn't been an easy transition, but it's definitely been a worthwhile one, and one that has been, I guess it feels in line with the way we learn and the way we want to live life. And, looking at running your own business and looking at being, that sort of trailblazer of creating your own CMS and working with custom systems in the way you do, and, even balancing home life with work life. Like, do you have any advice for people who may feel a little bit scared to, step out on their own or do things in a different way in their lives?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's lots of questions all at once there. But yeah, something that you mentioned there about it's not easy, homeschooling, unschooling. There's 5 of us here all the time. Through the day, you, me, and the 3 kids. And I tell people that at least we get along. I like having you around. It's good. There are times when I'm like, okay, everyone's ganging up on me here. I'm needing to get some work done, and it's difficult to juggle how much time you can spend on different things. But that's part of the challenge, part of being creative and in how you run your business. And there are 24 hours in the day, and you don't have to spend 9 to 5 in work mode, and then now it's time to put my feet up and relax. Well, if you've been interrupted 100 times that day, well, there's not really the time to sit up and relax, is there? So, but I think you'll find that compared to being an employee, it's a very different lifestyle. You have to want it. You have to, I might take a day off here and there and go to the shops or whatever and not feel guilty. But I had to work fairly hard to be able to take that day off. I can't just go, hey, paid holidays, that I didn't get paid holidays. So, but it all comes back to lifestyle. What do you want? I mean, I'm with my 3 kids in their prime of childhood, and I'm not like working an hour from home for 9, 10 hours, 11 hours away from them every day. I get to see them all the time. They actually like me as well, which is even better. So I know that quite a few of the kids that are their age don't like their parents very much.
Mum and Dad are so uncool.
Yeah.
And I think we're pretty cool parents, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're the best.
I think that the way we've sort of created our life, it works well for us. And I know it is very different to how other people do it. And, I guess when I hear other people talking on that, like how do you see the whole thing, Josh, where people are like, oh, you haven't had a proper holiday, you haven't taken that proper holiday in however long. Because we do live our life quite differently, it feels like a bit of an odd question to us, but I guess looking at it from other people's perspective, they probably do go, oh, you just work all the time. How do you balance that out? And what's your perspective on that?
Sure. I remember, I think it was a joke, it might have been a story or something about some fisherman in the islands, and now and then he'd make a little bit extra money by taking tourists out in the boat, taking them fishing. And he had some bank manager or something with him one time, and he's fishing away, and he caught quite a few fish. He was a good fisherman, that's what he was doing. And then the businessman said to him, oh, you could make a good business out of this, and you could get the fish, and you could do this and you could do that, and if you get a bit bigger, get yourself a new boat, get yourself a fleet of boats, then you can just be the boss, and you can manage all these boats and all this sort of stuff. And the fisherman turned to him and said, and then what? After I've gotten really stressed, then I have to take a holiday and come out fishing. And he's like, I'm already there. So there's these people
He's
who
living it.
have, it's, I don't need a holiday because I'm living what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, and if I go on a holiday, the work piles up and I'm actually busier for the next 3 months than I was before the holiday. So I get that as well, But I don't know. I can't help myself. When I go on a holiday, I take the laptop and I sort of get a bit sneaky. It's like, everyone else is going to bed. I'm going to sit up and do some stuff.
I know, because there's that joy for what you're.
For me. Yeah.
Yeah, because you are balancing, work for your customers and stuff for yourself, because I know you often have your own projects going and things that you have like personal goals for, and I guess you're having fun. That's what I see.
Yeah, that's it. And so if your work is fun, keep it fun. Don't make it stressful. If you're currently in a employment situation and you're thinking you might like to get out, just make sure you've got enough funds to fall back on if everything goes flat, so that you don't have the stress when you get 2 or 3 months in and the payment flows aren't coming in. That sort of stuff. Expect the first few years to be tough financially, but don't look at it and go, I'm just being remunerated for my time and my time's worth this much. Look at it and go, well, what's my quality of life look like now compared to before? And actually look at whether your life is improved by working for yourself or if it's worse. And don't be afraid to put your hand up and say, hey, I need help with different things, because I love it that my accountant will do my taxes for me at the end of the year.
Yes, you don't have to do everything on your own.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and you don't have to do your own marketing, like you were talking about earlier with the artist saying, I'm sick of art now because all I do is just not selling it because I don't like the marketing. Well, offload that marketing off, unless you love marketing. Offload that to someone who does love it, because I know there's quite a few people who love doing marketing, and that's what they've got their own business for. Yeah.
Now, and do you, I guess, with I guess looking at or advice for people who want to maybe move into doing websites or the future of software engineering, what would you advise people to do to sort of follow that passion for?
Start when you're 6. If you're older than 6, then I'll have to give you a different. I've had it pretty easy as far as I've moved with technology. Anyone coming into doing web development and that now, they don't have to unlearn the past, which I have to unlearn the past. but
Yep.
I've also been able to go along in increments. But definitely there are ways that they can get into it fairly quickly. There are online courses that you can do if that floats your boat. Otherwise, just get in there, tinker away, build on other people's projects, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Lego blocks are good. You don't have to work out the ins and outs of how to make the Lego block as well.
Because I know something that you're passionate about is the open source community.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you can share what that is and how that can help people.
Sure. Open source community is, open source meaning the source code for the software is open for the world to see, to use, and to extend on. And I use open source software as much as possible. Not because I don't want to do places out of money, because but more so that they tend to be a little bit more secure, and they a little bit more dynamic, and they move fast. A good example of this is, do you remember the Encyclopedia Britannica?
Every family had a set.
yeah, that sort of stuff. So they went heads up against Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is an open information platform, and anyone can add to it, and anyone can vet it, anyone can extend on it, and it is the one that survived. So the closed source, you're stuck with that one vendor. If the vendor goes under, then you're stuck. You can't get out. So the open source, it's all about sharing. It's all about working together, and some of the communities are very vibrant and open to change, which is what technology is. It's always changing. So the only way to stay on top of it is for people to keep communicating and to keep making things better than what they were before. Yeah. And I've contributed to a few open source projects, and I've released a few things into the open source as well, just as a way to give back and say thank you very much. I've done this work and someone else can benefit from it. And it's really nice to see when now and then I'll get a message saying, "Hey, Josh, I love this. This is great. Thank you so much." More often than not, it's like, "And I've got a problem as well. Can you help me?" you know. But that's the nature of it. But yeah, it's good to see that it's not all just rivalry out there. It is. Yeah. There is very much a community.
Yeah, I think that's a nice aspect of that with the open source. And so I guess reflecting back over what we've shared here today, do you have anything to add to your journey and to running your own business in the field that you do?
I think that anyone can do it. Anyone can become a business owner. Anyone can work for themselves. Anyone can work in a technological field. Anyone can be creative. I think you need a fair bit of, I don't know if you'd call it resilience or grit or whatever it is, but maybe more so an understanding that things go wrong, things don't go the right way, nothing is smooth. The road that has unpaved is the bumpiest, and so it's your job to be able to explore that, and the benefits are not just in money, it's in lifestyle, it's in the people you meet. The people I've met working for myself, being able to talk directly to other business owners who are much more successful than I am, but each of them very inspiring in their own way. So I've got lots of tips along the way, and they're doing that. Okay, I'll try that too.
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of thing. So you're not just this safe little guy in a cubicle doing in and out all the same thing every day. It's every day is different, every week is different, every project's different, and it's just a whole lot of fun in my experience. And probably the biggest thing is what will go wrong probably will go wrong. So think of that, think of creative ways around it, and tolerate it as best as possible, and look at the big picture rather than all of the little imperfections along the way.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. And I know that, I've learned a lot just by watching you and how you have run your business and how you interact with customers and how you problem solve and things like that for, myself. And so I just wanted to, in wrapping up, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for sharing your journey. I really appreciate it, and I hope that the people listening can find something, that they can take away into their own lives from it. And I just wanted to also say, I've enjoyed chatting to you on here, and that I thought for our first podcast you were a really good person, because we have we can naturally talk well, and I know that you've achieved so many creative and innovative things in your area of expertise for your customers as well. And so, thank you for that.
No problem. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us on the Trailblazers Palette podcast. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe and share if you enjoyed the episode. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations with incredible guests. Keep blazing your trail, and until next time, stay inspired. This is Sancha, your host, signing off. See you soon, Trailblazers.